our communities and our nations. I yield back. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bishop. Today, our hearings on the foundations for a new Water Resources Development Act. We're holding our first of multiple hearings regarding the United States Army Corps of Engineers and the next Water Resources Development Act. And we are holding our first hearing in this Congress as a subcommittee. I'd like to welcome our new members of the committee. You're going to find it very interesting and important, the work we do here. It is time for this Congress to re-engage in the development of the nation's water resources and play a bigger role in prioritizing projects and activities carried out by the Army Corps of Engineers. Congress cannot continue to abdicate its constitutional responsibility in determining what projects should go forward and should reassert itself in the face of an administration that creates a one-size-fits-all policy with little or no transparency. Over the last few weeks, we've held a number of educational forums and roundtables on the Corps of Engineers program. One of the themes that has emerged is the concern of industry stakeholders and non-federal project sponsors, typically counties or cities, regarding the time it takes the agency to actually reach a decision. And what used to take the Corps 3 to 5 years to study, it has now become the norm for the Corps to take 10, 12, or even 15 years to produce a study. This is unacceptable. And it's no wonder it's taking so much time, since the Corps has to review in detail many different alternatives. In one case, a Chief's report was sent to Congress last year. The study of the project was authorized in 1999. The original purpose of the project was for navigation improvements. But when the Chief's report was delivered to Congress last year, the total project cost was $650 million. But only $250 million was for the actual construction of the navigation improvements. The rest of the project cost, almost $400 million, are attributed to environmental enhancements, not just environmental mitigation. In another case, the Corps of Engineers delivered to Congress a Chief's report for which there is no federal cost-share partner. The study took 7 years to develop, but since then there is no federal sponsor. Why should Congress authorize this project? The funding spent on that study could have been spent more wisely in projects where there are non-federal sponsors, and local support. Lastly, a Chief's report came to Congress authorizing a project to prevent storm damages. But also included in that Chief's report would be the authority, should Congress choose to give it, for the Corps of Engineers to carry out an additional $140 million worth of studies in the project area. Ultimately, the federal taxpayer is on a hook for these studies and for the length of time it takes to carry them out. The Corps reviews far too many alternatives and then sends to Congress a project request that far exceeds in scope and cost which was initially intended. As one of our witnesses will explain to the subcommittee today, just because a study is costly, complex, and long does not necessarily mean it's a better project. In fact, a large, costly project with so many add-ons that never gets funded is a benefit to no one. It is critical to accelerate these studies, but it's also extremely important that we better prioritize the Corps of Engineers program to focus the agency on those projects and activities that protect life, promote safety, and have an economic return on investment, and have local support. As we move forward with the policy-heavy Water Resources Development Act, we will be focusing on accelerating the study and project delivery process, as well as better prioritizing these worthwhile investments that the American public has relied on for decades. And Congressman Bishop's right. It is about jobs. It's about job creation. It's about being competitive in the global marketplace and moving our country and our economy forward in a global competitiveness. So I want to thank the witnesses for coming, and we're interested to hear your testimony, and no longer ado, we'll get right to that. Any other members to have opening statements, you may submit them for the record. We do have